'Tis I. Hey everyone, glad to see you back, glad to see you looking fresh. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you thought, man, I really promised someone I'd watch something, but I just haven't watched that thing yet? Like I did when I promised I'd watch the entire Halloween franchise in a certain video, and then I just didn't for almost an entire year, and then I realized, crap, the new Halloween movie's almost out, and I promised I'd watch it before that. Well, that's where something known as the film binge comes in. Now, I'm sure you might have heard of a film marathon or a film binge before, but I want to be talking about horror films specifically because I think it is the best and easiest genre to do it with. Now, film franchises are non-genre specific, but horror film franchises seem to last a very long time, and they come out almost yearly sometimes, especially around the 80s, 70s, stuff like that. And many of these franchises have gone on for over a trilogy, meaning that they're ripe for a film binge of an entire franchise. So I'm going to go through each one of these that I've done, let you know how they end up being in a film binge, how much I appreciated the films, yada yada yada, you know the drill at this point. Let's get started with the very first horror film binge I did. So, Friday the 13th is a franchise that is famous, clearly. I don't even know why I need to say that, but Jason Voorhees is an icon in film history. And these films are a wild ride of, some are great, some are terrible, and the ups and downs of this franchise as a whole makes this one of the most fun film franchises to binge. And it being my first really opened my eyes to how much fun something like this could be, right? I sat down on a Friday the 13th and watched all the numbered Friday the 13th movies, and I had a blast, being like, the first one, that was great. Second one, not as good. Third one, even less good. Fourth one, that's another great one. Fifth one, not as good. Sixth one, a great one. Like, seventh one, not as great. And then, like, the eighth one is kind of whatever. But, like, you know how they're speckled, like, greatness here, greatness there. So, I honestly think that Friday the 13th is one of the best ones to binge. And if you're looking to binge something on this Halloween, that would be my choice. I know I'm right up front with it, but yeah, Friday the 13th I think is the most fun I've had with a film binge since doing this. Leading on from that one, we had another much more intense series to try to binge, which would be... So, the Saw franchise is a very graphic set of films, a lot of blood and gore, and that's pretty much what they're known for. And watching all of these back to back to back is a strange situation where you eventually just get super numb to the whole thing, and eventually the selling point of the gore doesn't really do anything to you anymore. So by the third film, I was numb to it already, and there was more to go. And another thing with the Saw franchise, when I watched it over the course of a night, so I didn't start watching these until like 2 a.m. or so. And so I just started, and then I just kept going, and I took a bit of a nap, and then I woke up, and the rest of the whole day, that was my entire day, literally, because of how days work. The Saw franchise, wouldn't recommend binging this one as much. I think you'd have more fun if you kind of watched them with friends over the course of a couple days or a week or something. If you want to see how numb you'll get to this kind of thing, go ahead, but honestly, just watch the first two, and then call it a day with this one. And then moving on from that, we have... So, Scream was the third horror binge I had done. This was one I was very excited to do because Scream is known as, like, this revival of the slasher film genre. And I'm a big fan of the slasher film genre. They're a great set of 4 films, so this is the quickest binge to do. The Scream films are a little bit longer than your typical slasher film, so it will still take you a good amount of time. That's part of why these are so much fun to do, is because all these films are about an hour and a half, so you can really rip through them quick. Like I said, the Scream films are a little bit longer, so it's going to take you a little bit longer than you typically would expect, but this one's great. You get to go through an entire decade's worth of excitement, and Scream's great. Everyone knows that. I really like Scream 4 as well. Scream 2 and 3 have their place, and they're good as well. So then on from there, Nightmare on Elm Street is something that I should have probably watched well before I did, but it took me a long time to finally be like, alright, let's watch these, because I knew that clearly the first one was an icon for a reason. I really enjoyed New Nightmare, and I was like, well, let's finally finish this off. And 2 is pretty good. 3 has some really good stuff in it, but then the rest is is just there. It's kind of disappointing when you watch a franchise like that, and it really doesn't hold up to something else that you really enjoy, like Friday the 13th for me. And yeah, I wish I liked these more, but watching these films is a little hard because like it starts so strong and then it kind of just tapers in quality, and then as it goes on you're like, well, okay, this is, but then you have another great one with New Nightmare. It's so good. I love New Nightmare. I think it might be one of the best movies I've talked about today in any of these franchises. So all of a sudden it spikes in quality again, and then if you watch the remake or reboot, whatever you want to call it, then it's back down again. But yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street is great. Seeing Freddy Krueger do weird, gooky stuff over and over, it can get a little daunting, but it's another good one to do. It's not as great as Friday the 13th. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that. There's a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street fans out there. But then the final binge here. Halloween. It's Halloween time. There's a new Halloween movie coming, and I said I was going to watch these, so why not do it now? That's what I thought a couple days ago, and I did it. And I watched them all, and yeah, like the Nightmare on Elm Street films, these start really good, and then just kind of taper as they go. 2 and 3 are pretty good. Like, there is some cool stuff. 3 is a completely different thing. It has nothing to do with Michael Myers, so it makes it interesting at least. And then the rest are, the rest just kind of exists. There's one with Paul Rudd, so that's kind of fun. Other than that, though, they just kind of exist. I'm excited to see the newest movie. I really enjoyed the remake, reboot again. I don't know. They're not really a remake, so I guess this one is just a reboot. Or direct sequel. Whatever. These get confusing because there's so many of them. That's my last point to talk about here, is that when doing this, there are so much film to watch in a certain franchise like this. Especially Halloween, where it has, like, different timelines and different, like, sequels to the first one only. It can be messy. The way I would do it is just watch all of them in release order. Don't worry about continuity first or anything like that. Just release order, start to finish, and you'll see the ups and the downs, and that's the whole point of a marathon, is to experience all of it at once. And you'll either come out being like, wow, I don't want to ever watch another slasher film again, or you'll come out being like, yo, Jason Voorhees is one of my favorite characters of all time now, which I've done both. And let me know if you decide to do this Halloween. There are plenty of other franchises to do, such as Alien. You could do it with Hellraiser films, or you can do it with the Chucky films. And there are so many you could do it. And so that's what makes it fun, I think, is that there are so many times you can do this. This isn't a one and done kind of deal. So if you do this once and you really like the format, you can do it again. You can do it again with the same franchise if you want, but you can do it with a completely different one and see how one turns out. Like, for me, I experienced Friday the 13th and I experienced Nightmare on Elm Street the same kind of way. And I came out with a different appreciation for both. I enjoy Friday more than I enjoy Nightmare, but I think Nightmare has some of the stronger movies. I think that overall, the strongest movie out of the entirety of both franchises is New Nightmare, like I kept saying. Even though I think Friday is a stronger franchise, I think New Nightmare is the best movie. Plus, we got to see them fight. If you do those two, and then you have like a bonus extra day, you get to see those two characters fight. So that's about it for me today. Film binges are a really cool thing. I think it can be tough. It can be daunting. Don't get me wrong. If you don't feel like doing this, don't, clearly. But if you do, let me know how it went. Let me know what franchise you chose. Even if you didn't pick a horror one, this is the horror version of this. But there are other franchises out there that you could do it with as well. But happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. As always, like this if you like this, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you at some point.